The human body, you live inside one every single day of your life. You breathe with it, you move with it, you think with it. And yet most people will go their entire lives without ever truly understanding just how extraordinary the machine they inhabit really is. Right now, as you sit here watching this, trillions of events are unfolding inside you, chemical reactions firing, cells dividing, electrical signals racing through networks more complex than any supercomputer ever built. You are, without exaggeration, the most sophisticated structure in the known universe. And today, we are going to peel back the layers. We are going to journey deep inside the human body, from the surface of your skin to the darkest corners of your DNA, and we are going to uncover truths that will leave you stunned, amazed, and perhaps even a little unsettled. This is a journey you will not forget. Please let us know in the comments where you are watching this video and what time you are watching it. And be sure to subscribe to the channel for future videos. Now let us begin. Take a breath. Go ahead, take a deep breath right now. Feel the air fill your lungs. That single breath you just took, that simple, effortless act you perform roughly 20,000 times every single day, just pulled approximately half a liter of air into your body. Over the course of a full day, you will inhale and exhale somewhere around 11,000 liters of air. That is enough air to fill a small swimming pool. And you do it without thinking. Your brainstem, that ancient primitive region at the base of your skull, manages this process automatically. Even when you sleep, even when you are unconscious, even when every other thought in your mind has gone dark, your brainstem keeps you breathing. It is quite literally the reason you wake up every morning. But here is the truly staggering part. Your lungs are not just two simple bags of air. If you were to unfold every single tiny air sac inside your lungs, those microscopic structures called alveoli, and lay them flat, they would cover an area roughly the size of a tennis court. That is the surface area hidden inside your chest right now. All of that surface exists for one singular purpose: to exchange oxygen for carbon dioxide, keeping every cell in your body alive. The engineering is breathtaking. And speaking of cells, let us talk about the sheer number of them. Your body contains approximately 37 trillion cells. That number is almost impossible to comprehend. If you tried to count them one per second without stopping to eat, sleep, or rest, it would take you over 1 million years to finish. Every single one of those cells is a living entity unto itself, carrying out thousands of chemical reactions every second. Each cell has its own life cycle, its own internal machinery, its own copy of your complete genetic blueprint. You are not a single organism in the traditional sense. You are a vast, coordinated colony, a civilization of trillions, all working in harmony to create the experience you call you. Now let us go deeper. Let us talk about something that connects every single one of those trillions of cells: your DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, the molecule of life. Inside nearly every cell of your body, there is a complete copy of your DNA, coiled tightly into structures called chromosomes. If you took the DNA from just one single cell and stretched it out into a straight line, it would measure approximately 6 feet long. That is remarkable enough on its own. But now consider this: if you took all the DNA from all 37 trillion cells in your body and laid it end to end, it would stretch over twice the diameter of the entire solar system. Your body contains enough genetic material to reach from the sun to Pluto and back multiple times. All of it packed inside a body that stands just a few feet tall. The compression is almost incomprehensible. And what does that DNA actually contain? Your entire genetic code is written using just 4 chemical letters: adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. 4 letters. That is all it takes to write the complete instruction manual for building a human being. Your genome contains roughly 3 billion of these base pairs, and they encode approximately 20 to 25,000 genes. Those genes determine everything from the color of your eyes to the shape of your earlobes to your predisposition for certain diseases. And here is something that might humble you. You share about 99.9% of your DNA with every other human being on the planet. The genetic difference between you and a complete stranger on the other side of the world is vanishingly small. We are, at our most fundamental level, almost identical, but the surprises do not stop there. You also share about 98.7% of your DNA with chimpanzees. You share about 85% with mice. You even share about 60% of your DNA with a banana. That is right, a banana. The molecular machinery of life is remarkably conserved across species, and the building blocks that make you human are not as unique as you might like to believe. Life on this planet shares a common ancestor, and the evidence is written in every strand of your DNA. Let us shift our attention now to the organ that is arguably the most fascinating and mysterious structure in the entire body, your brain. Sitting inside your skull right now is roughly 3 pounds of soft, wrinkled tissue that is, without question, the most complex object we have ever discovered in the universe. Your brain contains approximately 86 billion neurons. Each of those neurons can form thousands of connections with other neurons, creating a network of synapses that numbers in the trillions. The total number of possible neural connections in your brain exceeds the number of stars in the Milky Way galaxy. The computational power sitting between your ears is staggering, and your brain is always working. Even when you are sleeping, your brain is extraordinarily active. During certain phases of sleep, particularly during rapid eye movement sleep, your brain can actually be more active than it is when you are awake. It is during sleep that your brain consolidates memories, processes emotions, clears out metabolic waste products, and performs a kind of neural housekeeping that is essential for your mental health. People who are chronically sleep-deprived do not just feel tired, their brains literally begin to malfunction. Cognitive performance drops. Emotional regulation deteriorates, the immune system weakens. Sleep is not a luxury. It is a biological necessity, and your brain demands it. Here is another extraordinary thing about your brain: it generates electricity. Right now, as you watch this, your brain is producing enough electrical activity to power a small light bulb. The electrical signals racing through your neurons travel at speeds of up to 270 miles per hour. That is faster than the fastest race car on the planet, and these signals are not random. They are precisely orchestrated patterns of activity that encode your thoughts, your memories, your emotions, your sense of self. Every experience you have ever had, every person you have ever loved, every fear you have ever felt, all of it exists as patterns of electrical and chemical activity inside those 3 pounds of tissue. And yet, for all its power, the brain is remarkably fragile. It has the consistency of soft butter or firm gelatin. It is so delicate that it floats inside your skull in a bath of cerebrospinal fluid, which acts as a cushion and shock absorber. Without that fluid, even the simple act of turning your head quickly could cause your brain to slam against the inside of your skull and sustain damage. Your body protects your brain more carefully than any other organ, surrounding it with thick bone, layers of protective membranes, and that vital cushion of fluid. Evolution understood something important. If the brain fails, everything fails. Now let us talk about something you use every single day but probably take completely for granted: your eyes. The human eye is one of the most remarkable sensory organs in the animal kingdom. Your retina, the thin layer of tissue at the back of your eye, contains approximately 120 million rod cells and 6 to 7 million cone cells. The rod cells are responsible for vision in low light, while the cone cells allow you to see color. Together, they can distinguish approximately 10 million different colors. Think about that for a moment. 10 million distinct shades, hues, and tones, all perceived by a structure smaller than a postage stamp. Your eyes can also detect a single photon of light in ideal conditions, one single particle of light. That is the theoretical minimum. You cannot detect anything smaller than that because nothing smaller exists. Your visual system is operating at the very edge of what is physically possible, and the processing that happens after light hits your retina is even more impressive. The raw data captured by your eyes is transmitted to your brain via the optic nerve at a rate equivalent to roughly 10 million bits per second. Your brain then takes that data and constructs a seamless, three-dimensional, full-color representation of the world around you, and it does it in real time without any noticeable delay. No camera, no computer, no piece of technology ever invented can match the combined performance of the human eye and visual cortex. But there is a quirk in the design that most people do not know about. You have a blind spot in each eye. Right now, at this very moment, there is a gap in your visual field where your optic nerve connects to your retina. There are no photoreceptor cells at that point, so you literally cannot see anything that falls on that spot, and yet you have never noticed it. Your brain seamlessly fills in the missing information using data from the surrounding area and from your other eye. It essentially fabricates a piece of your visual reality, and it does it so convincingly that you cannot tell the difference between what you are actually seeing and what your brain is inventing. Your perception of the world is, in a very real sense, a construction, an interpretation of reality created by your brain, not a perfect recording of it. Let us move from the eyes to another sensory powerhouse, your nose. The human nose can detect over 1 trillion different scents. That number was once thought to be around 10,000, but recent research has revealed that our olfactory system is vastly more capable than anyone previously imagined. Your nose contains approximately 400 different types of scent receptors, and it is the combination of signals from these receptors that allows you to distinguish between such an enormous variety of odors. And smell is unique among your senses because it is the only one that is directly connected to the limbic system, the ancient emotional center of your brain. This is why a particular scent can instantly transport you back to a specific moment in your past. The smell of a certain perfume, the aroma of a particular food, the scent of rain on dry earth, these can trigger vivid memories and powerful emotions in a way that no other sense can. Your sense of smell is hardwired to your emotions and your memory, and it has been that way for millions of years of evolutionary history. Now, while we're talking about things your body does without you being aware of it, let us discuss your heart. Place your hand on your chest. Feel that steady rhythm. That beating you feel is the most reliable muscle in your entire body, and it has been working non-stop since about 3 weeks after you were conceived. Your heart beats approximately 100,000 times every single day. Over the course of a year, that is about 35 million beats. Over an average lifetime, your heart will beat more than 2.5 billion times, and it does this without ever stopping for a rest, without ever taking a break, without ever pausing to recover. No other muscle in your body is capable of that kind of sustained performance. With each beat, your heart pumps about 70 milliliters of blood. That may not sound like much, but over the course of a single day, your heart pumps approximately 2,000 gallons of blood through your body. Over a lifetime, that adds up to roughly 1 million barrels of blood, enough to fill more than 3 supertankers. Your heart is a pump of extraordinary endurance and reliability, and the fact that it works as well as it does for as long as it does is one of the great engineering marvels of biology. And the network through which all that blood travels is equally astounding. Your circulatory system contains approximately 60,000 miles of blood vessels, arteries, veins, and capillaries. If you laid them all end to end, they would circle the earth more than twice. The largest artery in your body, the aorta, is about the diameter of a garden hose. The smallest capillaries are so tiny that red blood cells have to travel through them in single file, squeezing through passages narrower than a human hair. It is in these capillaries that the real work happens. This is where oxygen and nutrients are delivered to your tissues and where waste products are picked up for removal. Every cell in your body is no more than a few cells away from a capillary. The network is that dense, that thorough, that complete. And let us talk about what is flowing through those vessels. Your blood is not just a simple red liquid. It is a complex, living tissue that performs dozens of critical functions. A single drop of your blood contains approximately 5 million red blood cells, 7,000 white blood cells, and around 250,000 platelets. Red blood cells carry oxygen from your lungs to your tissues using a protein called hemoglobin. It is the iron in hemoglobin that gives blood its red color, and it is also what allows each red blood cell to carry up to 1 billion molecules of oxygen at a time. Your red blood cells are produced in your bone marrow at a rate of approximately 2 million per second. Let that sink in. Every single second of your life, your bone marrow is churning out 2 million brand new red blood cells to replace the ones that are aging and dying. Each red blood cell lives for about 120 days before it is broken down and recycled. Your body is a master of recycling. The iron from old red blood cells is salvaged and used to make new ones, and very little is wasted. Your white blood cells, on the other hand, are the soldiers of your immune system. They are constantly patrolling your bloodstream, looking for invaders, bacteria, viruses, parasites, fungi, and even abnormal cells that could become cancerous. Your immune system is incredibly sophisticated. It can distinguish between your own cells and foreign cells with remarkable precision, and it has the ability to remember past invaders so that it can mount a faster response if the same threat appears again. This is the principle behind vaccination. By exposing your immune system to a harmless version of a pathogen, you train it to recognize and destroy the real thing. Your immune system is also far more extensive than most people realize. It is not just your white blood cells. Your skin is your first line of defense, a physical barrier that keeps the vast majority of pathogens from ever entering your body. Your stomach acid is another defense mechanism, with a pH so low that it can dissolve metal. The mucus lining your respiratory tract traps airborne pathogens and sweeps them out of your body. Even your tears and saliva contain enzymes that destroy bacteria on contact. Your body is a fortress, and it has multiple layers of defense that are active every second of every day. Speaking of your skin, let us take a closer look at the largest organ in your body. Yes, your skin is an organ. In fact, it is the largest organ you have. An average adult carries around 8 pounds of skin, which covers approximately 22 square feet. Your skin is a remarkable structure that serves as a waterproof barrier, a temperature regulator, a sensory organ, a vitamin factory, and a shield against ultraviolet radiation. Without it, you would quickly dehydrate, overheat, and become overwhelmed by infection. Your skin is constantly renewing itself. The outer layer of your skin, the epidermis, completely replaces itself approximately every 27 to 30 days. That means you get an entirely new outer layer of skin roughly 12 times a year. Over the course of a lifetime, the average person sheds approximately 40 pounds of skin. Much of the dust in your home is actually dead skin cells. You are literally leaving pieces of yourself everywhere you go, and your skin is alive with sensation. It contains a vast network of nerve endings that allow you to feel pressure, temperature, pain, and texture. Your fingertips alone contain about 3,000 touch receptors per square centimeter, making them among the most sensitive parts of your entire body. You can detect a ridge on a surface just 13 nanometers high, that is thousands of times thinner than a sheet of paper. Your sense of touch is so refined that if your finger were the size of the earth, you could feel the difference between a house and a car. The sensitivity is almost beyond comprehension. But let us return to the inside of your body, because there is an entire world hidden within you that most people never think about. Your digestive system, for instance, is a continuous tube that stretches approximately 30 feet from your mouth to the other end. Along that length, your body performs an astonishing series of chemical and mechanical transformations that break down the food you eat into its molecular components so that they can be absorbed and used for energy, growth, and repair. The process begins in your mouth, where your teeth and tongue mechanically break food into smaller pieces, while enzymes in your saliva begin to chemically break down starches. You produce approximately 1 to 1.5 liters of saliva every day. Over a lifetime, that is enough saliva to fill 2 swimming pools, and saliva does far more than just moisten your food. It contains antibacterial compounds that protect your teeth and gums. It neutralizes acids, and it contains a pain-killing compound called opierfin that is several times more powerful than morphine. Once you swallow, food enters your esophagus, and here is something that might surprise you. Swallowing is not simply a matter of gravity pulling food down. The muscles of your esophagus contract in coordinated waves called peristalsis, actively pushing food toward your stomach. This means you could, theoretically, eat while hanging upside down. Astronauts eat in microgravity all the time using this exact same mechanism. Gravity is helpful but not necessary. Your body has its own system for moving food where it needs to go. Your stomach is where things get intense. Your stomach lining secretes hydrochloric acid with a pH between 1 and 3, acidic enough to dissolve zinc. This acid is essential for breaking down proteins and killing bacteria that may have been present in your food. But here is the remarkable part. Your stomach lining itself is made of protein. So why doesn't the stomach digest itself? Because it produces a thick layer of mucus that coats the lining and protects it from the acid. This mucus barrier is constantly being renewed, and the entire stomach lining replaces itself every 3 to 4 days. If it did not, the acid would eat through the stomach wall. It is a constant race between destruction and repair, and your body wins that race every single day. After the stomach, food moves into the small intestine, which, despite its name, is anything but small. It is approximately 20 feet long and is where the vast majority of nutrient absorption takes place. The inner lining of the small intestine is covered with millions of tiny finger-like projections called villi, and each villus is covered with even tinier projections called microvilli. Together, they create a surface area of approximately 250 square meters, roughly the size of a tennis court, just like your lungs. Your body has a recurring design principle. When it needs to maximize absorption or exchange, it increases surface area to extraordinary degrees. Now let us talk about something that lives inside your digestive system that is not technically part of you at all, your gut microbiome. Your body is home to trillions of microorganisms, primarily bacteria, and the vast majority of them reside in your large intestine. In fact, the number of bacterial cells in and on your body roughly equals the number of human cells. You are, in a very real sense, only half human. The other half is a vast, diverse ecosystem of microbes that plays a crucial role in your health. Your gut bacteria help you digest certain foods that you cannot break down on your own. They produce vitamins, including vitamin K and several B vitamins. They train your immune system. They influence your mood and mental health through the gut-brain axis, a bidirectional communication system that connects your intestines to your brain. Research has shown that the composition of your gut microbiome can affect everything from your weight to your risk of depression to your susceptibility to autoimmune diseases. You are not just feeding yourself when you eat, you are feeding an entire ecosystem, and the health of that ecosystem has a profound impact on your overall well-being. Let us now turn our attention to the skeletal system, the framework that gives your body its shape and allows you to move. An adult human skeleton contains 206 bones, but here is an interesting fact: you were not born with that many. A newborn baby has approximately 270 to 300 bones at birth. Many of those bones are made of soft, flexible cartilage that gradually hardens into bone through a process called ossification. As you grow, some of those bones fuse together, which is why an adult ends up with only 206. Your bones are not the dry, brittle structures that most people imagine. Living bone is moist, slightly flexible, and remarkably strong. Pound for pound, bone is stronger than steel. A cubic inch of bone can, in principle, bear a load of 19,000 pounds, roughly the weight of 5 standard pickup trucks. And yet, bone is relatively lightweight, making up only about 15% of your total body weight. This combination of strength and lightness is something that engineers have been trying to replicate in artificial materials for decades. Bone is also a living tissue that is constantly being broken down and rebuilt. You have 2 types of bone cells that are always at work: osteoblasts, which build new bone, and osteoclasts, which break down old bone. This process of bone remodeling means that your entire skeleton is completely replaced approximately every 10 years. The skeleton you have now is not the same skeleton you had a decade ago. It is brand new, rebuilt piece by piece over time. And inside your bones is something vitally important: your bone marrow. There are 2 types of bone marrow: red marrow and yellow marrow. Red bone marrow is the factory where your blood cells are produced. It generates red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets at a combined rate of roughly 200 billion new cells per day. Yellow marrow, on the other hand, is primarily made of fat cells and serves as an energy reserve that can be converted back to red marrow if your body needs to dramatically increase blood cell production, such as during severe blood loss. Your bones also serve as a mineral bank. They store about 99% of the calcium in your body and about 85% of your phosphorus. When your blood calcium levels drop too low, your body withdraws calcium from your bones to maintain the proper balance. When levels are sufficient, it deposits calcium back into your bones for storage. This regulatory system is controlled by hormones, primarily parathyroid hormone and calcitonin, and it keeps your blood calcium within a very narrow range that is essential for nerve function, muscle contraction, and blood clotting. Let us now move to the muscles, the engines that make movement possible. Your body contains more than 600 skeletal muscles, and together they account for approximately 40% of your total body weight. Every movement you make, from blinking your eyes to running a marathon, is powered by the coordinated contraction of these muscles, and the range of what they can do is extraordinary. Your muscles can produce movements of incredible delicacy, a surgeon making a precise incision, a pianist playing a complex piece of music, and movements of tremendous power, a weightlifter hoisting hundreds of pounds overhead. The strongest muscle in your body relative to its size is the masseter, the muscle in your jaw. It can generate a force of up to 200 pounds on your back teeth. That is enough force to crack a walnut with ease, and it is the reason humans are able to chew through a remarkably wide variety of foods. Your jaw is a powerful piece of machinery, but the muscle that does the most work over the course of your life is, of course, your heart. We have already discussed its incredible endurance, but it is worth noting again. The cardiac muscle is unique in the human body. Unlike skeletal muscle, which fatigues relatively quickly, cardiac muscle is designed to contract rhythmically and tirelessly for decades. It has its own built-in pacemaker, a cluster of specialized cells called the sinoatrial node that generates electrical impulses to keep the heart beating at a steady rate. Even if you remove a heart from the body entirely, it will continue to beat for a short time on its own, as long as it has an adequate supply of oxygen. It is, in a sense, autonomous. While we are discussing muscles, let us talk about one of the most remarkable things muscles can do: generate heat. Your muscles are actually quite inefficient at converting chemical energy into mechanical work. Only about 25% of the energy your muscles use is converted into movement. The remaining 75% is released as heat, and your body exploits this inefficiency to keep you warm. When you are cold, your body induces shivering, rapid, involuntary muscle contractions whose sole purpose is to generate heat. Your muscles become tiny furnaces, burning fuel not to produce movement, but to keep your core temperature stable. And that core temperature is tightly regulated. Your body maintains an internal temperature of approximately 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, give or take about 1 degree. This is not arbitrary, it is the temperature at which your enzymes function most efficiently. Even a small deviation can be dangerous. A core temperature above 104 degrees can cause heat stroke and brain damage. A core temperature below 95 degrees constitutes hypothermia and can be fatal. Your body uses a sophisticated thermoregulatory system involving your skin, your blood vessels, your sweat glands, and your muscles to keep your temperature within this narrow window, and it does so with remarkable precision. Speaking of sweat glands, your body has between 2 and 4 million of them. On a hot day or during intense exercise, you can produce up to 1.5 liters of sweat per hour. Sweat is primarily composed of water, but it also contains sodium, chloride, potassium, and small amounts of other minerals. The evaporation of sweat from your skin's surface is one of the most effective cooling mechanisms in the animal kingdom, and it is one of the reasons humans are such exceptional endurance athletes. Most animals rely on panting to cool down, which is far less efficient. Humans can run for hours in conditions that would cause many other animals to overheat and collapse. Our ancestors used this ability to literally run prey to exhaustion over long distances, a hunting strategy known as persistence hunting. Let us talk about something else that makes humans remarkable in the animal kingdom: our hands. The human hand is one of evolution's greatest masterpieces. It contains 27 bones, 27 joints, 34 muscles, and over 100 ligaments and tendons. It is capable of an extraordinary range of movements and grips, from the powerful grip needed to swing a hammer to the precision grip needed to thread a needle. But the real secret of the human hand is the opposable thumb. Your thumb can rotate and touch each of your other fingers, allowing you to grasp, pinch, and manipulate objects with a dexterity that no other species can match. This ability, combined with the fine motor control provided by the extensive cortical representation of the hand in the brain, is what allowed our ancestors to create tools, build shelters, make fire, write, paint, and ultimately build civilizations. The human hand did not just evolve to grip branches, it evolved to grip the future. Now, let us turn to a substance that most people find repulsive, but that actually serves a critically important purpose: mucus. Your body produces approximately 1 to 1.5 liters of mucus every single day. Most of it is produced in the lining of your nasal passages, sinuses, throat, lungs, and gastrointestinal tract. Mucus serves as a lubricant, a moisturizer, and most importantly, a trap for pathogens. The mucus in your respiratory tract captures bacteria, viruses, dust particles, and other debris before they can reach your lungs. Tiny hair-like structures called cilia then sweep the mucus and its trapped cargo up and out of your airways. You swallow most of it without even noticing. And before that disgusts you, consider the alternative. Without mucus, every breath you take would deliver a payload of harmful particles directly into your lungs. Mucus is not glamorous, but it is keeping you alive. Let us talk about something else that is happening inside you right now that you are completely unaware of: the activity of your liver. Your liver is the largest internal organ in your body, weighing approximately 3 pounds, and it performs over 500 different functions. It filters your blood, removing toxins, drugs, and metabolic waste products. It produces bile, which is essential for the digestion and absorption of fats. It synthesizes proteins, including those necessary for blood clotting. It stores glycogen, a form of stored energy that can be quickly converted to glucose when your blood sugar drops. It metabolizes medications. It breaks down old red blood cells. It stores vitamins and minerals. The list goes on and on. But perhaps the most remarkable thing about the liver is its ability to regenerate. If you were to lose up to 75% of your liver, the remaining tissue could regrow to its original size within a matter of weeks. No other internal organ in the human body has this capacity for self-repair. This is why living donor liver transplants are possible. A healthy person can donate a portion of their liver to someone in need, and both the donor's remaining liver and the transplanted piece will grow back to functional size. Now, let us discuss a bodily function that everyone experiences but few people understand: sleep. The average human spends about 1/3 of their life asleep. That means if you live to be 75, you will have spent approximately 25 years sleeping. That might seem like a tremendous waste of time, but sleep is anything but wasteful. It is one of the most important things your body does. During sleep, your brain goes through several distinct stages, each with its own characteristic brain wave patterns. During deep sleep, also known as slow wave sleep, your body releases growth hormone, repairs damaged tissues, strengthens the immune system, and consolidates certain types of memories. During REM sleep, the stage in which most dreaming occurs, your brain processes emotions, integrates new information with existing knowledge, and strengthens neural connections. Without adequate sleep, virtually every system in your body suffers. Chronic sleep deprivation has been linked to obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, weakened immunity, depression, anxiety, impaired cognitive function, and even premature death. And speaking of dreaming, here is something fascinating. Almost everyone dreams every single night. Most people have multiple dreams per night, typically during REM sleep, but the vast majority of dreams are forgotten within minutes of waking. The longest dreams can last up to 45 minutes, and the content of dreams is often emotional and narrative in nature. Despite decades of research, scientists still do not fully understand why we dream or what function dreams serve. Some theories suggest that dreams help us process emotions. Others propose that they serve as a kind of mental rehearsal, allowing us to practice dealing with threats and challenges in a safe environment. Still others believe that dreams are simply a byproduct of random neural activity during sleep. The true purpose of dreaming remains one of the great unsolved mysteries of neuroscience. Here is another mystery of the body that scientists are only beginning to unravel: pain. Pain is a complex, multidimensional experience that serves as your body's alarm system. When you touch a hot stove, specialized nerve endings called nociceptors detect the damaging stimulus and send a signal racing through your nervous system to your brain. That signal travels through two different pathways: a fast pathway that produces the sharp, immediate sensation of pain, and a slower pathway that produces the lingering, aching pain that follows. Your brain then processes these signals and produces the conscious experience of pain, the suffering, the urgency, the overwhelming desire to make it stop. But pain is not simply a passive recording of tissue damage. It is an active construction of the brain, influenced by your emotions, your expectations, your past experiences, and even your cultural background. This is why two people with identical injuries can experience very different levels of pain. It is why soldiers in battle sometimes report feeling no pain from severe wounds until the danger has passed. It is why a placebo, a sugar pill with no active ingredients, can sometimes reduce pain as effectively as real medication. Pain is real, but it is also deeply subjective, and the brain has far more control over the experience of pain than most people realize. Let us now talk about something that is vital for your survival, but that you probably never give a second thought to: your kidneys. You have two of them, each about the size of your fist, located on either side of your spine just below your ribcage. Your kidneys are your body's filtration system, and their job is to clean your blood. Every single day, your kidneys filter approximately 50 gallons of blood. They remove waste products, excess water, and surplus minerals, concentrating them into about 1 to 2 quarts of urine. They regulate the balance of electrolytes in your blood, including sodium, potassium, and calcium. They help control your blood pressure. They stimulate the production of red blood cells by releasing a hormone called erythropoietin. They even help regulate the pH of your blood, keeping it within the narrow alkaline range necessary for survival. Each kidney contains approximately 1 million tiny filtering units called nephrons. Each nephron contains a tiny cluster of capillaries called a glomerulus, which acts as a microscopic filter. Blood enters the glomerulus under pressure, and water, salts, glucose, amino acids, and waste products are pushed through the filter into a tiny tube. As the filtered fluid travels through the tube, your kidneys reabsorb the water and nutrients that your body needs and concentrate the waste products into urine. The efficiency of this system is extraordinary. Your kidneys reabsorb approximately 99% of the fluid they filter, returning it to your bloodstream. Only a tiny fraction is excreted as urine. Now, let us explore something that every person on Earth does, but that remains remarkably poorly understood: yawning. You have probably yawned at some point while watching this, and if you haven't, you might yawn now just because I mentioned it. Yawning is famously contagious. Simply seeing, hearing, reading about, or even thinking about yawning can trigger the reflex. But why do we yawn? Despite decades of research, scientists still do not have a definitive answer. The most widely accepted current theory is that yawning helps cool the brain. When you yawn, you take a deep breath of cool air and stretch the muscles of your jaw and face, which increases blood flow to the brain. This combination of cool air intake and increased blood flow may help lower the temperature of the brain slightly, keeping it at an optimal operating temperature. This would explain why people tend to yawn more when they are tired. A fatigued brain generates more heat, and why yawning increases in warm environments. But the contagious nature of yawning remains a puzzle. Some researchers believe it is linked to empathy, noting that people who score higher on tests of empathy tend to be more susceptible to contagious yawning. But no one knows for certain why seeing someone yawn makes you want to yawn too. Let us shift gears and talk about the speed at which things happen inside your body. Your nervous system transmits signals at vastly different speeds depending on the type of nerve fiber involved. The fastest nerve signals, those traveling through thick myelinated motor neurons, can reach speeds of up to 270 miles per hour. But the slowest nerve signals, those traveling through thin, unmyelinated pain fibers, may travel at only about 1 mile per hour. This is why when you stub your toe, you feel the sharp, immediate pain first, followed a second or two later by a deep, throbbing ache. The sharp pain traveled on the fast track, while the throbbing ache took the slow road. Your reflexes, meanwhile, are even faster than conscious thought. When you touch something dangerously hot, a reflex arc in your spinal cord can trigger the withdrawal of your hand before the pain signal even reaches your brain. You pull your hand away before you consciously feel the pain. This is your body's way of protecting you from harm in situations where waiting for the brain to process the information and decide on a response would take too long. Your spinal cord makes the decision for you, saving precious milliseconds that could mean the difference between a minor burn and a serious injury. Now let us talk about your tongue. That muscular organ in your mouth is far more complex and capable than most people appreciate. Your tongue is actually not one muscle, but a group of 8 muscles that work together to allow an extraordinary range of movements. It can push, pull, twist, fold, and shape itself with remarkable precision, abilities that are essential for speaking, eating, and swallowing. Your tongue is also covered with tiny bumps called papillae, and nestled within those papillae are your taste buds. The average adult has between 2,000 and 10,000 taste buds, each one containing 50 to 100 taste receptor cells. These cells can detect 5 basic tastes: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami, which is the savory taste found in foods like meat, cheese, and mushrooms. Contrary to the popular myth, your tongue does not have specific zones for different tastes. All areas of the tongue can detect all 5 basic tastes. The old tongue map that many people learned in school has been thoroughly debunked by modern research. Your taste buds have a remarkably short lifespan. Each taste receptor cell lives for only about 10 to 14 days before it dies and is replaced by a new one. This means your sense of taste is being completely rebuilt roughly every 2 weeks. This constant turnover is one of the reasons why your sense of taste can change over time and why the foods you disliked as a child may become palatable as an adult. Let us now talk about something that is deeply personal, something that is uniquely yours and yours alone: your fingerprints. Every human being on the planet has a unique set of fingerprints. Even identical twins who share 100% of their DNA have different fingerprints. This is because fingerprints are not determined solely by genetics. They are also influenced by the conditions in the womb, including the position of the fetus, the flow of amniotic fluid, and the exact pressure on the developing fingertips. These factors introduce random variations that make each set of fingerprints one of a kind. Fingerprints begin to form around the 10th week of gestation and are fully developed by the end of the 2nd trimester. Once formed, they remain unchanged for the rest of your life. You can burn, cut, or abrade your fingertips, and as long as the damage does not reach the deepest layers of skin, your fingerprints will grow back in exactly the same pattern. They are a permanent, indelible mark of your individual identity, but fingerprints are not just useful for identification. They serve an important functional purpose. The ridges on your fingertips increase friction, allowing you to grip objects more securely. They also enhance your sense of touch by amplifying vibrations when your fingers slide across a surface, making it easier for you to detect texture. And they channel water away from your fingertips, much like the tread on a tire, improving your grip in wet conditions. Fingerprints are a beautifully elegant solution to several different engineering challenges, all wrapped up in a single feature. Now, let us talk about your ears. The human ear is not just an organ of hearing, it is also the organ responsible for your sense of balance. Deep inside each ear, embedded in the temporal bone of your skull, is a complex structure called the vestibular system. It consists of 3 semicircular canals, each oriented in a different plane, and 2 small organs called the utricle and saccule. Together, they detect the rotation and linear acceleration of your head, providing your brain with the information it needs to maintain your balance and spatial orientation. The semicircular canals are filled with fluid, and when you move your head, the fluid shifts, bending tiny hair cells that send signals to your brain. The utricle and saccule contain small crystals of calcium carbonate called otoliths, which sit on top of a gel-like membrane. When you tilt your head or accelerate, the otoliths shift under the influence of gravity or inertia, bending the hair cells beneath them and signaling your brain about your orientation relative to gravity. This system is so sensitive that it can detect head movements of just a fraction of a degree, and your hearing itself is extraordinary. The human ear can detect sounds across a frequency range of approximately 20 Hz to 20,000 Hz, although this range narrows with age. At the most sensitive frequencies, your ear can detect pressure variations so tiny that they cause your eardrum to vibrate by less than the diameter of a single hydrogen atom. If your ears were any more sensitive, you would actually be able to hear the random motion of air molecules, the background noise of the universe itself. Your hearing is operating right at the edge of what is physically useful, and any more sensitivity would actually be counterproductive. The process by which sound is converted into neural signals is a marvel of biological engineering. Sound waves enter your ear canal and cause your eardrum to vibrate. These vibrations are transmitted through three tiny bones in your middle ear, the hammer, the anvil, and the stirrup, collectively known as the ossicles. The stirrup, incidentally, is the smallest bone in the human body, measuring just about 3 millimeters in length. The ossicles amplify the vibrations and transmit them to the cochlea, a snail-shaped structure in the inner ear filled with fluid. Inside the cochlea, the vibrations create waves in the fluid that bend approximately 15,000 tiny hair cells. Different hair cells respond to different frequencies, and the pattern of activation is transmitted to the brain via the auditory nerve, where it is perceived as sound. Let us now discuss something that is happening constantly but silently, the renewal and repair of your body. At this very moment, your body is in a perpetual state of demolition and reconstruction. Old cells are dying and new ones are taking their place. The rate of renewal varies enormously from one tissue to another. The cells lining your stomach are replaced every 3 to 5 days. The cells of your skin's outer layer are replaced every 2 to 3 weeks. Your red blood cells last about 4 months. Your liver cells are replaced roughly every year. The cells of your skeleton take about 10 years to fully turn over, but some cells are never replaced at all. The neurons in your cerebral cortex, the part of the brain responsible for your highest cognitive functions, are largely the same ones you were born with. When neurons in the cortex die, they are generally not replaced. This is one of the reasons why neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's are so devastating. The loss of neurons in these conditions is essentially irreversible. The cells of the lens of your eye are also permanent. They are never replaced, which is one of the reasons cataracts develop with age. The original cells gradually accumulate damage and become cloudy over decades. And speaking of aging, let us explore what actually happens to your body as you grow older. Aging is not a single process, but a constellation of changes that affect virtually every system in your body. Your skin loses elasticity as the collagen and elastin fibers that give it structure break down. Your bones gradually lose density, becoming more porous and fragile. Your muscles decrease in mass and strength. Your joints stiffen as the cartilage that cushions them wears away. Your cardiovascular system becomes less efficient as your blood vessels stiffen and your heart muscle thickens. Your immune system weakens, making you more susceptible to infections and cancer. Your brain shrinks slightly and certain types of memory become less reliable. But here's the astonishing part. No one knows exactly why we age. There are numerous theories, but no single definitive explanation. Some scientists believe aging is the result of accumulated DNA damage over time. Others point to the shortening of telomeres, protective caps on the ends of your chromosomes that get slightly shorter each time a cell divides, like the plastic tips on shoelaces wearing away. When telomeres become too short, the cell can no longer divide and enters a state of senescence, where it is alive but no longer functional. Still others believe aging is driven by the accumulation of senescent cells, which secrete inflammatory molecules that damage surrounding tissues. The truth is probably some combination of all of these factors and more. Aging is the most universal human experience, and yet it remains one of the least understood. Let us now venture into a realm that is truly alien, the world of your hormones. Hormones are chemical messengers produced by your endocrine glands, and they regulate virtually every major process in your body. Growth, metabolism, reproduction, mood, sleep, appetite, stress response, all are controlled or influenced by hormones. Your endocrine system includes the pituitary gland, the thyroid gland, the adrenal glands, the pancreas, the ovaries or testes, and several other glands, and together they produce dozens of different hormones that travel through your bloodstream to reach their target tissues. The amounts involved are almost unbelievably small. Hormones are effective at concentrations measured in parts per billion or even parts per trillion. To put that in perspective, 1 part per trillion is equivalent to a single drop of water in 20 Olympic-sized swimming pools. And yet even these minuscule quantities can have profound effects on your body. A tiny excess or deficiency of a single hormone can dramatically alter your weight, your energy levels, your mood, your bone density, your fertility, and your overall health. Consider the thyroid gland, a butterfly-shaped gland in your neck that weighs less than an ounce. It produces 2 hormones, T3 and T4, that regulate your metabolic rate. If your thyroid produces too much of these hormones, a condition called hyperthyroidism, your metabolism speeds up. You lose weight, your heart races, you feel anxious and jittery, and you cannot tolerate heat. If it produces too little, a condition called hypothyroidism, your metabolism slows. You gain weight, feel fatigued and sluggish, become sensitive to cold, and may experience depression. A tiny gland producing tiny amounts of a hormone controlling the pace at which your entire body burns energy. The leverage is extraordinary. Your adrenal glands, sitting atop your kidneys like small hats, produce hormones that govern your stress response. When you encounter a threat, whether it is a physical danger or a stressful situation, your adrenal glands release adrenaline and cortisol. Adrenaline increases your heart rate, dilates your pupils, redirects blood flow to your muscles, and releases stored glucose into your bloodstream, preparing your body for fight or flight. Cortisol, the longer-acting stress hormone, suppresses non-essential functions like digestion and immune response, freeing up energy for dealing with the immediate threat. This system evolved to help your ancestors survive encounters with predators and other dangers, and it remains active in your body today, even though the threats you face are more likely to be deadlines and traffic jams than saber-toothed cats. But here is the problem. Chronic stress keeps cortisol levels elevated for extended periods, and this can wreak havoc on your body. Prolonged high cortisol levels have been associated with weight gain, particularly around the midsection. They suppress the immune system, making you more vulnerable to illness. They impair memory and cognitive function. They contribute to high blood pressure and cardiovascular disease. They can even alter the structure of your brain, shrinking the hippocampus, the brain region critical for memory, and enlarging the amygdala, the region involved in fear and anxiety. Stress, in a very literal sense, reshapes your brain. Now let us talk about something that may seem mundane but is actually quite remarkable: your hair. You have approximately 100,000 hairs on your head, and each one grows from a tiny pocket in your skin called a follicle. Hair grows at a rate of about 6 inches per year, and each individual hair can last between 2 and 7 years before it naturally falls out and is replaced by a new one. You lose approximately 50 to 100 hairs every day as part of this normal cycle, but hair is not just a cosmetic feature. It has important functional roles. The hair on your head provides insulation and protection from ultraviolet radiation. Your eyebrows divert sweat and rain away from your eyes. Your eyelashes protect your eyes from dust and debris. The tiny hairs inside your nose filter airborne particles. And the fine, nearly invisible vellus hairs that cover most of your body play a role in sensation. They are connected to nerve endings that help you detect light touch and air movement on your skin. The color of your hair is determined by the type and amount of a pigment called melanin produced by cells at the base of the hair follicle. There are 2 types of melanin: eumelanin, which produces brown and black colors, and pheomelanin, which produces red and yellow tones. The specific combination and concentration of these two pigments determines whether your hair is black, brown, blonde, red, or any shade in between. As you age, the melanin-producing cells gradually die off, and the hair they produce becomes transparent. When enough transparent hairs mix with your remaining pigmented hairs, the result is the appearance of gray hair. Eventually, when all the melanin-producing cells are gone, your hair appears white. Let us now explore the incredible world of human reproduction. The process by which a new human being is created is one of the most complex and awe-inspiring sequences of events in all of biology. It begins with the union of two cells, a sperm cell from the father and an egg cell from the mother. The egg cell is the largest cell in the human body, just barely visible to the naked eye. The sperm cell is one of the smallest. Despite this enormous size difference, each contributes exactly half of the genetic information needed to create a new individual. When a sperm cell penetrates an egg cell, their genetic material combines to create a single cell called a zygote, containing a complete set of 46 chromosomes, 23 from each parent. This single cell contains the entire blueprint for building a complete human being. Within hours, the zygote begins to divide. One cell becomes two. 2 become 4. 4 become 8, and this process of division continues, with cells multiplying and beginning to specialize, eventually forming all the different tissues and organs of the body. The speed and precision of embryonic development is breathtaking. By the end of the first month of pregnancy, the embryo, still smaller than a grain of rice, already has a beating heart. By the end of the second month, it has the beginnings of all major organs, as well as developing fingers and toes. By the end of the first trimester, it has recognizable facial features and can make spontaneous movements. By 20 weeks, it can hear sounds from outside the womb. By 24 weeks, it has a chance of surviving outside the womb with intensive medical care. And by 40 weeks, a fully formed human being is ready to enter the world. During those 40 weeks, a single fertilized egg has multiplied into approximately 26 billion cells organized into over 200 different cell types, forming every organ, tissue, and structure in the human body. All of this from one cell, following the instructions encoded in the DNA. It is, by any measure, one of the most extraordinary processes in the natural world. Now, let us talk about something that connects us all but that is uniquely individual, your voice. Your voice is produced by the vibration of two small folds of tissue in your larynx called the vocal cords or vocal folds. When you speak, air from your lungs passes through these folds, causing them to vibrate and produce sound. The pitch of your voice is determined by the length, tension, and thickness of your vocal folds. Men typically have longer and thicker vocal folds than women, which is why male voices tend to be deeper. But the raw sound produced by your vocal folds is not what people hear when you speak. That sound is shaped and modified by your throat, mouth, nasal passages, tongue, lips, and jaw, collectively known as your vocal tract. These structures act as resonating chambers and articulators, transforming the basic buzzing of your vocal folds into the rich, complex sound of human speech. It is this shaping process that gives each person's voice its distinctive quality. No two people have exactly the same vocal tract anatomy, which is why every voice is unique as a fingerprint. And the complexity of human speech itself is staggering. When you speak, you are coordinating the activity of over 100 muscles in your chest, throat, mouth, and face with split-second precision. You are selecting words from a mental lexicon of tens of thousands of entries, arranging them according to the grammatical rules of your language, and modulating your pitch, volume, and rhythm to convey not just information but emotion, intention, and nuance. All of this happens in real time, usually without conscious effort. Speech is arguably the most complex motor skill that humans possess, and the fact that most of us learn to do it before we are 3 years old makes it all the more remarkable. Let us talk about water. Your body is approximately 60% water by weight. Water is not just a filler. It is involved in virtually every biological process in your body. It is the solvent in which all biochemical reactions take place. It transports nutrients and waste products throughout your body via the blood and lymphatic system. It regulates your body temperature through sweating and evaporation. It lubricates your joints. It cushions your brain and spinal cord. It is essential for digestion, absorption, and elimination. Without water, you would die within a matter of days. Your body loses water constantly through urine, sweat, breathing, and even through your skin in a process called insensible water loss. On an average day, you lose approximately 2.5 liters of water, and this must be replenished through drinking and eating. Your body monitors its water balance with remarkable precision, using sensors in your brain and blood vessels to detect even slight changes in hydration status. When your body water drops by as little as 1 to 2%, you experience the sensation of thirst, your body's signal that it is time to drink. But here is something interesting. By the time you feel thirsty, you are already mildly dehydrated. Thirst is a lagging indicator, not a leading one. Your body is already running slightly low on water before the signal reaches your conscious awareness. This is why health experts often recommend drinking water regularly throughout the day rather than waiting until you feel thirsty. Let us talk about your lymphatic system, the unsung hero of your immune system. While most people are familiar with the circulatory system, few give much thought to the lymphatic system, which runs parallel to your blood vessels and plays a critical role in immune defense and fluid balance. Your lymphatic system consists of a network of thin vessels, similar to blood vessels, that carry a clear fluid called lymph throughout your body. Along this network are small, bean-shaped structures called lymph nodes. You have roughly 600 of them, concentrated in areas like your neck, armpits, and groin. Lymph nodes are essentially filtration stations for your immune system. As lymph fluid passes through them, immune cells within the nodes scan for foreign invaders, bacteria, viruses, cancer cells, and other threats. When they detect something suspicious, they mount an immune response, multiplying rapidly and releasing antibodies and other defensive molecules. This is why your lymph nodes often swell when you are sick. They are literally filling with immune cells that are fighting the infection. Your lymphatic system also plays a crucial role in maintaining fluid balance. Your blood capillaries are slightly leaky, and some fluid constantly seeps out of them and into the surrounding tissues. If this fluid were not collected and returned to the bloodstream, your tissues would gradually swell with excess fluid, a condition called edema. Your lymphatic vessels collect this excess fluid and return it to the bloodstream, preventing the buildup. The lymphatic system processes approximately 3 liters of fluid per day through this mechanism. Here is one more fact about the lymphatic system that is truly remarkable. Unlike the circulatory system, the lymphatic system has no central pump. It does not have a heart. Instead, lymph is moved through the vessels by the contraction of surrounding muscles, the pulsation of nearby arteries, and one-way valves within the lymphatic vessels that prevent backflow. This is one of the reasons why physical activity is so important for immune health. The movement of your muscles literally helps pump immune-carrying fluid through your body. Now let us discuss a topic that will make you see your body in a completely different way: the bacteria, viruses, and other microorganisms that live on and inside you. We touched on the gut microbiome earlier, but the truth is that your entire body is teeming with microbial life. There are microorganisms living on your skin, in your mouth, in your nasal passages, in your respiratory tract, in your urogenital tract, and of course, in your gastrointestinal tract. The total number of microbial cells in and on your body is roughly equal to the number of human cells, approximately 38 trillion. Your skin alone is home to approximately 1 trillion bacteria, representing more than 1,000 different species. Different regions of your skin harbor different communities of microbes. The bacteria living on your forehead are different from those living in your armpit, which are different from those living on your forearm. These microbial communities form a complex ecosystem that helps protect you from harmful pathogens by competing with them for space and resources. In many cases, the bacteria on your skin are not just harmless, they are actively beneficial. The same is true of the bacteria in your mouth. Your oral cavity contains approximately 6 billion bacteria representing over 700 different species. Some of these bacteria are harmful and can cause tooth decay and gum disease if left unchecked, but others are beneficial, helping to maintain the pH balance of your mouth, producing vitamins, and preventing the colonization of harmful species. Your mouth is a complex ecosystem, and maintaining its health requires a balance between the helpful and the harmful. And as we discussed earlier, the bacteria in your gut play essential roles in digestion, vitamin production, immune regulation, and even mental health. The composition of your gut microbiome is influenced by your diet, your environment, your medications, your stress levels, and dozens of other factors. It is as unique to you as your fingerprints, and it is constantly changing in response to your lifestyle choices. Let us now turn to something truly amazing about your body, its ability to heal itself. When you cut your skin, a remarkable sequence of events unfolds. Within seconds, your blood vessels constrict to reduce blood flow to the area. Platelets in your blood rush to the wound site and begin to stick together, forming a temporary plug. A cascade of clotting factors is activated, ultimately producing a mesh of protein fibers called fibrin that reinforces the platelet plug and forms a stable blood clot. This clot stops the bleeding and provides a scaffold for repair. Within hours, white blood cells arrive at the wound site to clean up debris and fight any bacteria that may have entered. Over the following days, new blood vessels begin to grow into the wound, bringing oxygen and nutrients to the repair zone. Special cells called fibroblasts produce collagen, the structural protein that forms the framework of new tissue. Gradually, new skin cells grow in from the edges of the wound, covering the exposed area. Over weeks to months, the wound remodels, with the initial collagen being replaced by stronger, more organized tissue. If the wound is small, it may heal with virtually no visible scar. If it is large, a scar may remain, but the underlying tissue is still fully repaired. This entire process happens automatically, without any conscious effort on your part. You do not have to think about forming a blood clot, directing white blood cells to the wound, or growing new blood vessels. Your body simply does it, and it does it with a precision and efficiency that would make the most skilled surgeon envious. Self-repair is one of the defining characteristics of life, and the human body does it better than almost any machine ever designed. We have covered an extraordinary amount of ground, from the air in your lungs to the DNA in your cells, from the electricity in your brain to the bacteria on your skin, and yet we have only scratched the surface. The human body is a universe unto itself, a world of staggering complexity, breathtaking beauty, and profound mystery. Every heartbeat, every breath, every thought is a testament to billions of years of evolution, billions of years of trial and error, billions of years of life perfecting the art of living. In the next part of this documentary, we will go even deeper. We will explore the mysteries of human memory and consciousness. We will examine the incredible ways your body communicates with itself. We will uncover the hidden connections between your mind and your body. And we will discover truths about the human machine that will change the way you see yourself forever. But for now, take a moment to appreciate the miracle you are. Right now, as you sit here, your heart is beating, your lungs are breathing, your brain is thinking, your cells are dividing, your blood is flowing, your immune system is standing guard. 100 trillion processes are unfolding in perfect coordination, keeping you alive, keeping you aware, keeping you you. We ended the first part of this documentary by talking about your body's ability to heal itself. But healing a wound is just one example of a much broader and more profound ability, your body's capacity to adapt, change, and reshape itself in response to the demands placed upon it. And nowhere is this ability more dramatic than in your brain. For most of the 20th century, scientists believed that the adult brain was essentially fixed, that once you reached adulthood, the structure of your brain was set in stone. New neurons could not be born, lost connections could not be rebuilt, damage was permanent. This view has been utterly overturned. We now know that the brain possesses a remarkable quality called neuroplasticity, the ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. Your brain is not a static organ. It is a dynamic, constantly evolving structure that reshapes itself in response to your experiences, your behaviors, your thoughts, and even your injuries. When you learn a new skill, playing a musical instrument, speaking a foreign language, mastering a sport, your brain physically changes. New synaptic connections are formed, existing connections are strengthened. Entire regions of the brain can expand or contract depending on how much they are used. Studies of London taxi drivers, for example, have shown that the hippocampus, the brain region involved in spatial navigation, is significantly larger in experienced drivers than in the general population. The act of navigating complex city streets for years literally grew that part of their brain. Neuroplasticity also explains how people can sometimes recover from devastating brain injuries. When one area of the brain is damaged by stroke or trauma, other areas can sometimes take over the lost functions. This process is not guaranteed, and it is often slow and incomplete, but the fact that it happens at all is a testament to the brain's extraordinary flexibility. Your brain is not a rigid machine with fixed parts. It is more like a living ecosystem, constantly adapting to the environment it encounters. And here is something even more remarkable. We now know that new neurons can indeed be born in the adult brain. This process, called neurogenesis, occurs primarily in two regions: the hippocampus, which is involved in memory and learning, and the olfactory bulb, which processes smell. The rate of adult neurogenesis is modest compared to what happens during development, but it is real, and it appears to be enhanced by physical exercise, intellectual stimulation, and social engagement. Your brain is not just plastic, it is generative. It can grow new cells throughout your entire life. Let us stay with the brain and talk about one of the most fundamental mysteries of human existence: consciousness. What is it? How does it arise? Why do you have an inner experience of being you? These are questions that have puzzled philosophers and scientists for centuries, and despite enormous advances in neuroscience, we still do not have a satisfying answer. Here is what we do know: consciousness appears to depend on the activity of specific regions and networks within the brain, particularly the cerebral cortex and the thalamus. When these structures are damaged or their activity is disrupted by anesthesia, by certain types of brain injury, or by deep sleep, consciousness fades or disappears entirely. This tells us that consciousness is closely tied to brain function. But knowing that the brain produces consciousness is very different from understanding how it does so. How does the firing of billions of neurons, each one a simple electrochemical switch, give rise to the rich, subjective experience of being alive? How does the smell of coffee, the feeling of love, the sensation of red emerge from the activity of physical matter? This is what philosophers call the hard problem of consciousness, and it remains one of the deepest unsolved questions in all of science. What we can say is that your conscious experience, everything you see, hear, feel, think, and remember, represents only a tiny fraction of what your brain is actually doing. The vast majority of your brain's activity is unconscious. Your brain is regulating your heart rate, managing your breathing, controlling your digestion, maintaining your balance, processing sensory information, consolidating memories, and performing thousands of other tasks without any of it ever reaching your awareness. Consciousness is like the tip of an iceberg, a small visible peak rising above a vast hidden mass of unconscious processing. And this brings us to one of the most fascinating aspects of the human mind: memory. Your ability to remember the past is one of the defining features of human cognition, and yet memory is far stranger and more unreliable than most people realize. First, let us talk about how memories are formed. When you experience something, an event, a conversation, a sight, a sound, the information is initially held in your short-term or working memory, which can retain approximately 7 items for about 20 to 30 seconds. If the information is important enough, or if you actively rehearse it, it is transferred to long-term memory through a process called consolidation. During consolidation, the connections between the neurons involved in the memory are strengthened, making the memory more stable and more easily retrievable. But here's the crucial point: memories are not stored in your brain like files on a computer. There is no single location where a specific memory resides. Instead, a memory is distributed across multiple brain regions. The visual aspects of a memory are stored in the visual cortex. The auditory aspects are stored in the auditory cortex. The emotional aspects are stored in the amygdala. The spatial and contextual aspects are stored in the hippocampus. When you recall a memory, your brain reconstructs it by reactivating all of these distributed components and weaving them together into a coherent experience. Memory is not retrieval, it is reconstruction. And because memory is reconstruction, it is inherently fallible. Every time you recall a memory, you are essentially rebuilding it from pieces, and each time you rebuild it, it can be subtly altered. Details can be changed, added, or removed without your awareness. Emotions can color the memory, making it seem brighter or darker than it actually was. Information from other sources, conversations, photographs, things you have read or seen can be woven into the memory, and you will be unable to distinguish between what you actually experienced and what was added later. This is why eyewitness testimony is notoriously unreliable, and it is why two people who experience the same event can have genuinely different memories of what happened. Your memories feel vivid and accurate, but they are far more fluid and malleable than you realize. There are also different types of long-term memory, and they rely on different brain systems. Declarative memory, your memory for facts and events, depends heavily on the hippocampus. Procedural memory, your memory for skills and habits, like riding a bicycle or typing on a keyboard, depends more on the basal ganglia and cerebellum. This is why a person with severe amnesia who cannot remember what they had for breakfast may still be able to play a piano piece they learned years ago. The two types of memory are stored in different systems, and damage to one does not necessarily affect the other. Now let us talk about something your body does that is deeply connected to both memory and emotion: crying. Humans are the only species known to produce emotional tears. Other animals may produce tears to lubricate and protect their eyes, but only humans cry in response to emotion. And the composition of emotional tears is actually different from the tears produced by eye irritation. Emotional tears contain higher concentrations of stress hormones, including adrenocorticotropic hormone and leucoenkephalin, a natural painkiller. This has led some researchers to suggest that crying may serve a biochemical function, helping to flush stress hormones from the body and providing a mild analgesic effect. In other words, crying may literally make you feel better, not just emotionally, but chemically. Crying also serves a powerful social function. Tears are a visible signal of vulnerability that can elicit empathy, compassion, and support from others. In a species as deeply social as ours, the ability to signal distress and attract help from the group would have had significant survival value. Crying is not weakness. It is a sophisticated communication tool that has been shaped by millions of years of social evolution. While we are on the subject of things your body does involuntarily, let us explore a few more. Consider sneezing. A sneeze is one of the most explosive things your body can do. When something irritates the lining of your nose, dust, pollen, a virus, or even bright light, it triggers a complex reflex that involves your nose, throat, chest, and abdominal muscles. The result is a powerful blast of air that can travel at speeds of up to 100 miles per hour, carrying with it thousands of tiny droplets that can spread up to 26 feet from your body. The purpose of a sneeze is to forcefully expel irritants from your nasal passages, and the sheer force involved makes it remarkably effective. Here is an interesting quirk: it is virtually impossible to sneeze with your eyes open. When you sneeze, your brain sends a signal to close your eyelids as part of the reflex. The reason for this is not entirely clear, but it may help protect your eyes from the debris being expelled. And here is another curious fact: approximately 18 to 35% of people experience something called the photic sneeze reflex, which causes them to sneeze when they are suddenly exposed to bright light, particularly sunlight. This trait is genetic, and while it has been known since ancient times, Aristotle mentioned it, the exact mechanism is still not fully understood. Then there are hiccups. A hiccup is a sudden, involuntary contraction of the diaphragm, the large muscle that separates your chest cavity from your abdominal cavity and is the primary driver of breathing. When the diaphragm contracts involuntarily, it causes a sudden intake of air, which is then abruptly stopped by the closure of the vocal cords. That closure produces the characteristic hic sound. Hiccups can be triggered by eating too fast, drinking carbonated beverages, sudden changes in temperature, excitement, or stress. But what purpose do hiccups serve? No one knows for certain. One intriguing theory suggests that hiccups are an evolutionary remnant from our distant ancestors. The hiccup reflex closely resembles the breathing pattern used by amphibians like tadpoles, which breathe by gulping air and water over their gills while simultaneously closing the glottis to prevent water from entering the lungs. If this theory is correct, then every time you hiccup, you are experiencing a reflexive echo of a breathing pattern that your ancestors used hundreds of millions of years ago, long before they ever crawled onto land. Let us talk about another involuntary response that you have certainly experienced: goosebumps. When you are cold, frightened, or experiencing a strong emotion, tiny muscles at the base of each hair follicle contract, causing the hair to stand upright and the surrounding skin to pucker into small bumps. This response is called piloerection, and in our fur-covered ancestors, it served two important purposes. First, it helped trap a layer of insulating air close to the skin, providing warmth. Second, it made the animal appear larger and more intimidating to potential predators or rivals. In modern humans, with our relatively sparse body hair, goosebumps serve no practical purpose. They do not make us appreciably warmer, and they certainly do not make us look more threatening. Yet the reflex persists, a remnant of our evolutionary past. When you feel goosebumps rise on your arms while listening to a powerful piece of music or watching an emotional scene in a film, you are experiencing a vestigial response, a physical echo of a survival mechanism that has long outlived its usefulness but has never been eliminated from your biology. Speaking of vestigial features, your body contains several structures that were once useful to your ancestors but no longer serve their original purpose. Your appendix is one of the most famous examples. For a long time, it was considered a completely useless organ, a worm-shaped tube dangling from the beginning of your large intestine with no apparent function. However, more recent research has suggested that the appendix may serve as a reservoir for beneficial gut bacteria. After an illness that depletes the gut microbiome, severe diarrhea, for example, the bacteria sheltered in the appendix may be able to recolonize the large intestine. So the appendix may not be entirely useless after all, but it is clearly not essential, since millions of people have had theirs removed with no adverse effects. Your wisdom teeth are another vestigial feature. These third molars were useful to our ancestors, who ate a much rougher diet of raw plants, nuts, and uncooked meat that required more chewing power and wore teeth down faster. With a larger jaw and a more abrasive diet, our ancestors had room for and need of those extra molars. Modern humans, with our softer diets and smaller jaws, often do not have room for wisdom teeth, which is why they frequently become impacted and need to be surgically removed. You also have muscles attached to your ears that most people cannot control. In many animals, these muscles allow the ears to rotate toward sounds. Think of a cat swiveling its ears toward a noise. Most humans have lost the ability to move their ears, but the muscles are still there, and a small percentage of people can still wiggle their ears voluntarily. It is a party trick made possible by an ancient adaptation that we no longer need. And then there is the tailbone, the coccyx. Formed from 3 to 5 fused vertebrae at the base of your spine, the coccyx is what remains of the tail that our distant primate ancestors possessed. We no longer have tails, but the vestigial bones remain, serving now as an attachment point for various muscles and ligaments and providing support when you sit down. Every human being carries this small, bony reminder that our ancestors once had tails. Now let us dive into something that will change the way you think about energy, your body's power system. Every cell in your body requires energy to function, and that energy comes in the form of a molecule called adenosine triphosphate, or ATP. ATP is the universal energy currency of life. Every movement you make, every thought you think, every heartbeat, every nerve impulse, all of it is powered by ATP. Your body produces and consumes an astonishing amount of ATP every day. Estimates suggest that the average person generates approximately their own body weight in ATP every 24 hours. If you weigh 150 pounds, your body produces roughly 150 pounds of ATP per day. But here is the key. Your body does not store large reserves of ATP. Instead, it constantly recycles ATP molecules, breaking them down to release energy and then rebuilding them. Each ATP molecule is recycled approximately 500 to 700 times per day. The efficiency of this recycling system is extraordinary. The primary factories responsible for producing ATP are tiny structures inside your cells called mitochondria. You may remember learning in school that mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cell, and that description is entirely accurate. Mitochondria take the glucose and fatty acids from the food you eat, combine them with the oxygen you breathe, and produce ATP through a process called cellular respiration. Each cell in your body contains hundreds to thousands of mitochondria, depending on how much energy it needs. Muscle cells and brain cells, which have very high energy demands, are particularly rich in mitochondria. And here is something truly fascinating about mitochondria. They have their own DNA, separate from the DNA in your cell's nucleus. Mitochondrial DNA is a small, circular molecule that is inherited exclusively from your mother. This is because the egg cell contributes its mitochondria to the embryo, while the sperm cell's mitochondria are typically destroyed after fertilization. This means that your mitochondrial DNA is a direct, unbroken line of inheritance from your mother to her mother to her mother, stretching back thousands of generations. By analyzing mitochondrial DNA, scientists have been able to trace the maternal ancestry of all living humans back to a single woman who lived in Africa approximately 200,000 years ago, a woman known as Mitochondrial Eve. She was not the only woman alive at that time, but she is the most recent common ancestor from whom all living humans inherited their mitochondrial DNA. Every person alive today carries a piece of her genetic legacy. Let us shift our focus now to something that has fascinated and bewildered scientists for decades: the placebo effect. The placebo effect is the phenomenon in which a person experiences a real, measurable improvement in their condition after receiving a treatment that has no active therapeutic ingredient, a sugar pill, a saline injection, or even a sham surgery. The effect is not imaginary. Brain imaging studies have shown that placebos can trigger the release of real neurotransmitters, including endorphins and dopamine, that produce genuine physiological changes. People who take a placebo for pain, for example, show increased activity in brain regions associated with pain modulation, and their pain actually decreases, not because the pill did anything, but because their brain produced its own painkillers in response to the expectation of relief. The implications of the placebo effect are profound. They suggest that your beliefs, expectations, and mental state can directly influence your physical health. Your brain is not just an observer of your body, it is an active participant in your healing. When you believe a treatment will work, your brain acts on that belief by initiating real biological processes that promote recovery. This does not mean that all healing is in your head, and it does not mean that serious diseases can be cured by positive thinking alone. But it does mean that the mind-body connection is far more powerful than most people appreciate. And just as the placebo effect can promote healing, its dark twin, the nocebo effect, can cause harm. The nocebo effect occurs when negative expectations lead to negative outcomes. If a patient is told that a medication has a particular side effect, they are significantly more likely to experience that side effect, even if the medication they received was a placebo. In extreme cases, the nocebo effect has been documented to cause measurable physiological changes, including changes in heart rate, blood pressure, and hormone levels. Your expectations do not just color your perception of reality, they can actually change your body. Now, let us explore something that connects your brain to almost every organ in your body, the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the longest cranial nerve in the human body, running from your brainstem all the way down to your abdomen, branching along the way to connect to your heart, lungs, stomach, intestines, and other organs. Its name comes from the Latin word for wandering, and it is aptly named. This nerve wanders throughout your torso, carrying signals between your brain and your internal organs. The vagus nerve is a key component of the parasympathetic nervous system, the branch of your autonomic nervous system responsible for rest and digest functions. When the vagus nerve is activated, it slows your heart rate, lowers your blood pressure, stimulates digestion, and promotes a sense of calm and relaxation. This is the opposite of the fight or flight response mediated by the sympathetic nervous system. The balance between these two systems is essential for your health, and the vagus nerve plays a central role in maintaining that balance. Research has shown that vagal tone, a measure of how well the vagus nerve functions, is associated with a wide range of health outcomes. People with high vagal tone tend to have better emotional regulation, stronger immune function, lower inflammation, and better cardiovascular health. And here's the interesting part: you can actually improve your vagal tone through specific practices. Deep, slow breathing, meditation, cold water exposure, singing, and even gargling can stimulate the vagus nerve and enhance its function. Your body has a built-in relaxation pathway, and you can learn to activate it deliberately. The vagus nerve also plays a crucial role in the gut-brain axis, the bidirectional communication system between your gastrointestinal tract and your brain. Approximately 80% of the vagus nerve's fibers are afferent, meaning they carry signals from the body to the brain rather than the other way around. This means that the majority of the communication flowing through the vagus nerve is bottom-up. Your gut is talking to your brain far more than your brain is talking to your gut. This is one of the reasons why the state of your digestive system can have such a profound influence on your mood, your anxiety levels, and your overall mental health. Speaking of the gut-brain connection, let us take a closer look at something we briefly mentioned in Part 1, the enteric nervous system. Hidden within the walls of your gastrointestinal tract is a complex network of approximately 500 million neurons. This is more neurons than exist in your spinal cord, and it is sometimes referred to as your second brain. The enteric nervous system can operate independently of the brain and spinal cord, controlling the complex muscular contractions that move food through your digestive tract, regulating the secretion of digestive enzymes, and managing blood flow to the gut. Your enteric nervous system also produces neurotransmitters, the same chemical messengers used by your brain. In fact, approximately 95% of the serotonin in your body, the neurotransmitter most commonly associated with mood, happiness, and well-being, is produced not in your brain but in your gut. This is a staggering statistic, and it has led researchers to reconsider the relationship between digestive health and mental health. The gut is not just a passive digestive organ. It is an active player in your emotional and psychological life, producing chemicals that directly influence how you feel. Now, let us talk about a sense that you use every second of every day, but that most people have never heard of: proprioception. Proprioception is your body's ability to sense its own position and movement in space without relying on vision. Right now, without looking, you know exactly where your hands are. You know whether your legs are crossed or uncrossed. You know the angle of your head, the position of your feet, the bend of your elbows. This awareness comes from specialized receptors located in your muscles, tendons, and joints that constantly send information to your brain about the position and movement of every part of your body. Without proprioception, even the simplest movements would become nearly impossible. You would not be able to walk without staring at your feet. You could not bring a glass of water to your lips without watching your hand every inch of the way. You could not type, write, drive, or perform any complex movement without constant visual guidance. Proprioception is the hidden sense that makes coordinated movement possible, and you rely on it far more than you rely on your sense of sight. In rare cases, people lose their sense of proprioception due to nerve damage or disease. The result is devastating. They can still move their muscles, the motor system is intact, but they cannot feel where their body is in space. Every movement requires intense visual concentration, and without sight they are essentially helpless. The loss of proprioception reveals just how dependent we are on a sense that most of us never even knew we had. Let us now explore something that affects every living person on the planet, your circadian rhythm. Deep inside your brain, in a tiny region of the hypothalamus called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, sits your body's master clock. This cluster of approximately 20,000 neurons generates a roughly 24-hour cycle that regulates your sleep-wake patterns, hormone release, body temperature, metabolism, and dozens of other physiological processes. Your circadian rhythm is the reason you feel alert during the day and sleepy at night, the reason your body temperature drops in the early morning hours, and the reason certain hormones are released at specific times of day. Your master clock is primarily synchronized to the external world by light. Specialized cells in your retina, distinct from the rods and cones used for vision, detect the presence or absence of light and send this information directly to the suprachiasmatic nucleus. This is why exposure to bright light in the morning helps you wake up and feel alert, and why exposure to light in the evening, particularly the blue light emitted by screens, can delay your circadian rhythm and make it harder to fall asleep. Your body was designed to be regulated by the natural cycle of sunlight and darkness, and when you disrupt that cycle through artificial lighting and late-night screen use, you can throw your entire biological clock out of alignment. The consequences of circadian disruption are far-reaching. Shift workers who regularly work during the night and sleep during the day have higher rates of obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, depression, and certain types of cancer. Chronic jet lag has similar effects. Even the relatively modest disruption caused by daylight saving time, a 1-hour shift in the clock, has been associated with a measurable increase in heart attacks, car accidents, and workplace injuries in the days following the time change. Your circadian rhythm is not just a preference for sleeping at night. It is a fundamental organizing principle of your biology, and disrupting it comes with real and serious health consequences. Now let us discuss something that is related to both your circadian rhythm and your brain, the strange phenomenon of the hypnic jerk. You have almost certainly experienced this. You are drifting off to sleep, hovering in that twilight zone between wakefulness and unconsciousness, when suddenly your body jolts, your muscles twitch, you feel a sensation of falling, and you snap back to wakefulness with a start. This is a hypnic jerk, and it happens to approximately 70% of people at least occasionally. The exact cause of hypnic jerks is not fully understood, but the leading theory involves a misinterpretation by the brain. As you fall asleep, your muscles begin to relax and your brain starts to disengage from the external world. Some researchers believe that the brainstem occasionally misinterprets this muscle relaxation as a signal that the body is falling, and it triggers a sudden muscle contraction to catch you. Others believe that hypnic jerks are simply a side effect of the nervous system transitioning from wakefulness to sleep, a brief, harmless glitch in the handoff between two fundamentally different states of consciousness. Either way, they are completely normal and nothing to worry about, even though they can be startling. While we are on the subject of sleep phenomena, let us talk about sleep paralysis. During REM sleep, the stage in which most dreaming occurs, your brain actively paralyses most of your voluntary muscles. This is called muscle atonia, and it serves an important protective function. It prevents you from physically acting out your dreams and potentially injuring yourself or others. Normally, this paralysis ends the moment you wake up and you never notice it, but occasionally the system misfires. You wake up, you are fully conscious, fully aware of your surroundings, but you cannot move. Your muscles are still paralyzed. This is sleep paralysis, and it typically lasts from a few seconds to a couple of minutes, although it can feel much longer. It is often accompanied by a sense of pressure on the chest, difficulty breathing, and vivid, often terrifying hallucinations. Many people report seeing or sensing a menacing presence in the room. Throughout history, sleep paralysis has been interpreted as the work of demons, ghosts, and other supernatural entities. In reality, it is a harmless, if frightening, glitch in the transition between sleep and wakefulness. It is experienced by approximately 8% of the population at some point in their lives. Let us now talk about the fascinating world of human hormones and the chemical systems that drive our behavior. We discussed stress hormones and thyroid hormones in part 1, but your endocrine system produces many other hormones that shape your daily experience in ways you may not realize. Consider dopamine. Often called the feel-good neurotransmitter, dopamine is actually more accurately described as the molecule of desire, motivation, and reward. Dopamine does not simply make you feel pleasure, it drives you to seek pleasure. It is released when you anticipate something rewarding, and it motivates you to take action to obtain that reward. Every goal you pursue, every desire you act on, every addiction you struggle with, dopamine is at the heart of it all. Dopamine is released in response to food, sex, social interaction, novelty, achievement, and many other rewarding stimuli. It is also released in response to drugs of abuse, which is why addiction is so powerful. Addictive substances hijack the dopamine system, flooding it with unnaturally high levels of the neurotransmitter and creating a powerful drive to repeat the experience. Over time, the brain adapts to these elevated dopamine levels by reducing the number of dopamine receptors, which means that the person needs more of the substance to achieve the same effect. This is the neurological basis of tolerance and addiction, and it is one of the reasons why addiction is so difficult to overcome. It is not a matter of willpower, it is a fundamental change in brain chemistry. Then there is oxytocin, sometimes called the love hormone or the bonding hormone. Oxytocin is released during physical touch, hugging, kissing, sexual intimacy, and during childbirth and breastfeeding. It promotes feelings of trust, connection, and emotional bonding. It is one of the key hormones that cements the bond between a mother and her newborn, and it plays a role in romantic attachment and social bonding throughout life. When you hug someone you love and feel a warm sense of connection, that feeling is, at least in part, a product of oxytocin flowing through your brain. Endorphins, meanwhile, are your body's natural painkillers. These neurotransmitters are released in response to pain, stress, and intense physical exercise, and they produce a feeling of euphoria and well-being. The runner's high, that feeling of bliss and invincibility that long-distance runners sometimes experience, is largely driven by endorphins. Your body produces its own opioids, chemically similar to morphine and other opiate drugs, and it uses them to modulate pain and reward. The capacity for pleasure and the capacity for pain relief are built into your biology, encoded in your chemistry, available without any external substance. Let us now talk about something that will make you appreciate the sheer resilience of the human body, the remarkable feats of strength and endurance that become possible under extreme conditions. You have probably heard stories of people performing seemingly superhuman feats in emergencies, a mother lifting a car off her trapped child, a person running at incredible speed to escape a fire, a hiker surviving for days with injuries that should have been incapacitating. These stories are not myths, they are real, and they are made possible by the extraordinary capabilities of your body's stress response system. When you face a life-threatening situation, your sympathetic nervous system activates in full force. Adrenaline and noradrenaline flood your bloodstream, your heart rate skyrockets, your blood pressure surges. Blood is redirected from your digestive organs to your muscles. Your pupils dilate to let in more light. Your bronchial tubes widen to allow more oxygen into your lungs. Your liver releases stored glucose to fuel your muscles. And critically, your brain releases endorphins that suppress pain, allowing you to push through injuries that would normally be debilitating. In this state, your muscles can generate far more force than they normally do because the usual safety limits, the neural governors that prevent your muscles from contracting hard enough to damage your tendons and bones, are partially overridden. You are, for a brief moment, operating beyond your normal physical limits. This is why people can perform extraordinary feats under extreme stress. The strength was always there, your muscles are capable of far more force than you normally use, but under normal circumstances, your brain restricts access to that full capacity to protect your body from self-inflicted damage. Only in moments of extreme need does the brain release those brakes and allow you to tap into your full potential. Now let us explore another remarkable response your body has: the mammalian diving reflex. When your face is submerged in cold water, your body triggers a cascade of automatic responses designed to conserve oxygen and protect your vital organs. Your heart rate drops, sometimes dramatically, by as much as 10 to 25%. Blood vessels in your extremities constrict, redirecting blood to your core and your brain. Your spleen contracts, releasing a reserve of oxygen carrying red blood cells into your circulation. Your metabolism slows. All of these changes happen involuntarily, without any conscious effort on your part. This reflex is an ancient evolutionary adaptation shared by all mammals, and it is most powerfully triggered in infants. Newborn babies placed in water will instinctively hold their breath, slow their heart rate, and exhibit the full diving reflex, a behavior that suggests this response has been with us since long before our ancestors left the water. The diving reflex is one of the reasons why some people have survived extended submersion in cold water. There are documented cases of people, particularly children, being revived after being submerged in icy water for 30 minutes or more. The cold water combined with the diving reflex slowed their metabolism enough to protect their brain from the oxygen deprivation that would normally cause irreversible damage within minutes. Let us now turn to something truly extraordinary that happens during pregnancy. When a woman is pregnant, some of the fetus's cells cross the placenta and enter the mother's bloodstream. These fetal cells can migrate to various organs in the mother's body, including the brain, heart, liver, and kidneys, where they can persist for decades after the pregnancy ends. This phenomenon is called fetal microchimerism, and it means that a mother literally carries cells from her child within her body for the rest of her life. The implications of this are still being explored, but early research suggests that fetal cells may play a role in tissue repair. There is evidence that fetal cells can differentiate into the cell types of the organ they inhabit and may help repair damaged tissue. Some studies have found concentrations of fetal cells in maternal tissues that have been injured or diseased, suggesting that these cells may actively migrate to sites of damage and participate in healing. A mother's body carries a living piece of her child, and that piece may be helping to keep her healthy. The biological bond between mother and child is even deeper and more intimate than anyone previously imagined. Now, let us discuss something that flows through your veins, and that comes in several different varieties: your blood type. Your blood type is determined by the presence or absence of certain molecules called antigens on the surface of your red blood cells. The most well-known blood group system is the ABO system, which classifies blood into four main types: A, B, AB, and O. If your red blood cells have antigens, you are type A. If they have B antigens, you are type B. If they have both, you are type AB. And if they have neither, you are type O. Your blood type matters because your immune system produces antibodies against the antigens that your own blood cells lack. If you are type A, your blood contains antibodies against type B, and vice versa. Type O blood has antibodies against both A and B, while type AB has neither. This is why blood transfusion compatibility is so critical. If you receive blood of an incompatible type, your immune system will attack the foreign red blood cells, causing a potentially fatal reaction. Type O negative blood is considered the universal donor because it lacks a B and Rh antigens and can be safely given to almost anyone in an emergency. But here is something curious. Scientists still do not fully understand why different blood types exist in the first place. Some research suggests that different blood types may provide varying degrees of resistance to certain diseases. Type O individuals, for example, appear to have a lower risk of severe malaria and some cardiovascular diseases but may be more susceptible to certain other infections. The persistence of multiple blood types in the human population suggests that each type has conferred some survival advantage in different environments or against different pathogens over the course of human evolution. Let us now talk about something that millions of people experience, but that represents a fundamental error in your immune system: allergies. An allergy is an overreaction of the immune system to a substance that is normally harmless: pollen, dust mites, pet dander, certain foods, insect stings, or any number of other common substances. When a person with an allergy is exposed to their trigger, their immune system treats the substance as a dangerous invader and launches a full-scale defensive response, producing antibodies called immunoglobulin E and releasing histamine and other inflammatory chemicals. It is this immune response, not the allergen itself, that causes allergy symptoms: the sneezing, itching, swelling, runny nose, and watery eyes. In severe cases, the immune response can cause anaphylaxis, a life-threatening reaction that can cause the airways to swell shut and blood pressure to plummet. The immune system, so brilliantly designed to protect you from genuine threats, is essentially attacking a phantom enemy and causing collateral damage to your own body in the process. Allergies have become dramatically more common in recent decades, and one of the leading theories explaining this trend is the hygiene hypothesis. This theory suggests that the immune systems of people growing up in very clean, sanitized environments do not get enough exposure to the bacteria, parasites, and other microorganisms that humans evolved alongside. Without these natural training partners, the immune system becomes poorly calibrated and more likely to overreact to harmless substances. The increasing prevalence of allergies and autoimmune diseases in developed societies may be, paradoxically, a consequence of being too clean. And that brings us to autoimmune diseases, conditions in which the immune system turns against the body's own tissues. In a healthy person, the immune system can distinguish between self and non-self, between your own cells and foreign invaders. But in autoimmune disease, this distinction breaks down, and the immune system begins attacking healthy tissue. Rheumatoid arthritis, where the immune system attacks the joints. Type 1 diabetes, where it destroys the insulin-producing cells of the pancreas. Multiple sclerosis, where it attacks the protective myelin coating of nerve fibers. Lupus, where it can attack virtually any organ in the body. There are more than 80 recognized autoimmune diseases, and together they affect a significant portion of the population. The causes of autoimmune disease are complex and not fully understood. Genetic susceptibility plays a role. Certain gene variants increase the risk. Environmental triggers, including infections, toxins, and stress, may initiate the process in genetically susceptible individuals. And as the hygiene hypothesis suggests, changes in the microbial environment may be altering immune development in ways that increase autoimmune risk. The immune system is one of the most powerful and sophisticated systems in your body, but when it goes wrong, the consequences can be devastating. Now let us turn to something that your body does in response to infection that is unpleasant but purposeful: fever. When your immune system detects a pathogen, it releases chemical signals called pyrogens that act on the hypothalamus, the brain's thermostat, causing it to raise the body's set point temperature. The result is fever. Your body temperature rises, sometimes significantly. Fever is not a malfunction, it is a deliberate strategy. Higher body temperatures create an environment that is less hospitable to many pathogens. Many bacteria and viruses reproduce more slowly at temperatures above their optimal range. At the same time, higher temperatures enhance certain immune functions, including the activity of white blood cells and the production of antibodies. Fever is your body fighting back, using heat as a weapon against infection. This is why moderate fevers are often best left untreated, as suppressing them can actually prolong an illness by removing one of the body's natural defense mechanisms. However, very high fevers can be dangerous. When body temperature exceeds about 106 degrees Fahrenheit, proteins can begin to denature, lose their shape and function, and critical enzymes can stop working. This can lead to organ damage, brain damage, and death. The body's use of fever is a calculated risk. It pushes the temperature high enough to disadvantage the pathogen, but normally keeps it below the threshold where it would harm the host. It is a remarkably precise balancing act. Let us now discuss one of the most exciting frontiers in modern medicine: stem cells. Stem cells are undifferentiated cells that have the potential to develop into many different cell types. They are the body's raw materials, the blank pages from which specialized cells are written. There are several types of stem cells, but the most potent are embryonic stem cells, which are found in early-stage embryos and have the ability to become any cell type in the body, a process called pluripotency. Adult stem cells also exist in various tissues throughout the body, including bone marrow, fat tissue, and the brain. These cells are more limited in their potential. They can typically only give rise to the cell types found in their tissue of origin, but they play a crucial role in ongoing maintenance and repair. The stem cells in your bone marrow, for example, continuously produce new blood cells throughout your life. The stem cells in your skin produce new skin cells to replace the ones that are shed. Without adult stem cells, your body would gradually deteriorate as old cells died and were not replaced. The medical potential of stem cells is enormous. Researchers are exploring the use of stem cells to treat a wide range of conditions, from spinal cord injuries and heart disease to Parkinson's disease and diabetes. The dream is that stem cells could be used to grow replacement tissues or even entire organs, eliminating the need for organ donors. While this vision is still years away from full realization, significant progress has already been made, and stem cell therapies are already being used to treat certain blood cancers and immune disorders. Let us talk about something that may seem simple, but that reveals a profound truth about your biology: your nails. Your fingernails grow at an average rate of about 3 to 4 millimeters per month, while your toenails grow more slowly, at about 1 to 2 millimeters per month. It takes approximately 6 months for a fingernail to grow from root to tip, and about 12 to 18 months for a toenail. Nails are made of a tough protein called keratin, the same protein that makes up your hair and the outer layer of your skin. They evolved to protect the sensitive tips of your fingers and toes, to provide a rigid backing that enhances your sense of touch, and to serve as tools for scratching, scraping, and gripping. Nails are one of the features that distinguish primates from other mammals, and their flat, broad shape, as opposed to the curved claws of other animals, is specifically adapted for the precision gripping that is so essential to primate life. Here is something curious: your fingernails grow faster on your dominant hand than on your non-dominant hand. They also grow faster in warm weather than in cold weather, and faster during the day than at night. The nail on your middle finger tends to grow the fastest, while your thumbnail tends to grow the slowest. The reasons for these differences are not entirely understood, but are thought to be related to differences in blood flow and trauma. Nails that are used more and receive more blood flow tend to grow faster. Now, let us explore a concept that is revolutionizing our understanding of genetics: epigenetics. For a long time, scientists believed that your DNA was your destiny, that the genes you were born with determined your traits, your health, and your susceptibility to disease. Epigenetics has upended this view. Epigenetics is the study of changes in gene expression that do not involve changes to the DNA sequence itself. In other words, epigenetics is about which genes are turned on and which are turned off, and it turns out that this switching can be influenced by your environment, your diet, your stress levels, your exposure to toxins, and many other factors. Every cell in your body contains the same DNA, the same complete set of genetic instructions, but a skin cell looks and behaves very differently from a neuron or a liver cell. The difference is not in the DNA itself, but in which genes are expressed, which instructions are being read. Epigenetic mechanisms, including DNA methylation and histone modification, act like dimmer switches on your genes, turning them up, turning them down, or silencing them entirely. And these settings can be altered by your life experiences. Perhaps most remarkably, some epigenetic changes can be passed from one generation to the next. Studies have shown that the epigenetic effects of trauma, famine, and toxic exposure can be transmitted to children and even grandchildren. The experiences of your ancestors may have left marks on your DNA, not by changing the sequence, but by changing which parts of the sequence are active. Your genes are not just a blueprint handed to you at birth. They are a living document, continuously annotated by the experiences of your life and the lives of those who came before you. Let us now talk about something everyone has experienced, but few have understood: the sensation of pins and needles. You know the feeling: you sit on your leg for too long, or you sleep with your arm in an awkward position, and when you move it, you feel a tingling, prickling sensation that can range from mildly annoying to quite uncomfortable. This sensation is called paresthesia, and it is caused by the compression of a nerve. When you compress a nerve by putting pressure on it, you interfere with its ability to transmit signals. As the compression continues, the nerve begins to malfunction. When the pressure is relieved and blood flow is restored, the nerve starts firing again, but not in an orderly fashion. Instead, it sends rapid, disorganized signals to the brain, which the brain interprets as tingling, prickling, or buzzing. The sensation is your nerve essentially rebooting, recalibrating itself after being temporarily shut down. It is harmless and usually resolves within minutes, but it is a vivid reminder that your nervous system requires a constant supply of blood and oxygen to function properly. Now, let us explore a phenomenon that everyone has experienced, but that remains surprisingly mysterious: déjà vu. Déjà vu is the unsettling feeling that you have already experienced a current situation before, even though you know logically that you have not. It is estimated that approximately 60 to 70% of people experience déjà vu at some point in their lives, and it is most common in young adults. Despite decades of research, the exact cause of déjà vu remains uncertain. One leading theory suggests that it is a minor glitch in the brain's memory system. Normally, when you experience something, the information passes through your short-term memory before being transferred to long-term storage. Déjà vu may occur when the information is accidentally routed to long-term memory first, or simultaneously with short-term memory, creating the sensation that the current experience is being remembered rather than being lived for the first time. Another theory proposes that déjà vu occurs when a current experience is sufficiently similar to a past experience that your brain partially activates the memory of the past experience, creating a feeling of familiarity without full conscious recall. Whatever the mechanism, déjà vu is a fascinating reminder that your experience of reality is an active construction by your brain, and occasionally the construction process produces glitches. Let us now talk about something that demonstrates the remarkable adaptability of the human body: acclimatization to extreme environments. When a person travels from low altitude to high altitude, they experience a drop in atmospheric pressure that reduces the amount of oxygen available with each breath. Initially, this causes altitude sickness, headaches, nausea, fatigue, and shortness of breath. But over days to weeks, the body begins to adapt. It produces more red blood cells to increase the oxygen-carrying capacity of the blood. It increases the density of capillaries in the muscles and vital organs. It produces more of an enzyme called 2,3-DPG that helps hemoglobin release oxygen more efficiently to the tissues. The body literally redesigns its oxygen transport system to cope with the reduced supply. Similarly, when a person is repeatedly exposed to cold environments, their body develops cold acclimatization. Blood vessels in the extremities learn to cycle between constriction and dilation more efficiently, preventing frostbite while still conserving core heat. Brown fat, a special type of fat tissue that generates heat, becomes more active. Metabolic rate increases. The body learns to produce heat more effectively while losing less of it to the environment. And when people are regularly exposed to extreme heat, they undergo heat acclimatization. They begin sweating earlier and more profusely, cooling themselves more efficiently. The composition of their sweat changes, containing less sodium, which helps preserve electrolyte balance. Their blood plasma volume increases, improving cardiovascular efficiency. Their core temperature during exercise is lower, and their risk of heat illness decreases dramatically. These adaptations demonstrate a fundamental truth about the human body: it is not a fixed machine. It is a dynamic, responsive system that continuously adjusts itself to meet the demands of the environment. Given time and repeated exposure, your body can adapt to conditions that initially seemed unbearable. Let us now turn to something that might surprise you about your body: the concept of referred pain. When you have a heart attack, you might feel pain in your left arm, your jaw, or your shoulder rather than in your chest. When your gallbladder is inflamed, you might feel pain between your shoulder blades. When your diaphragm is irritated, you might feel pain in your shoulder. This is referred pain, pain that is felt in a part of the body that is different from the actual source of the problem. Referred pain occurs because the nerve fibers from different parts of the body converge on the same neurons in the spinal cord. When the brain receives pain signals from these shared neurons, it sometimes attributes the pain to the wrong location, typically to a more superficial or more commonly injured area rather than the deep organ that is actually affected. This is why referred pain can be so confusing, and why it sometimes leads to delayed diagnosis of serious conditions. Your brain is making its best guess about where the pain is coming from, and sometimes that guess is wrong. Let us talk about one more remarkable feature of your body: your ability to produce light. Yes, you read that correctly. The human body emits a very small amount of visible light, a phenomenon called biophoton emission. This light is produced as a byproduct of metabolic chemical reactions involving free radicals and excited molecules. The intensity of this light is about 1,000 times weaker than what the human eye can detect, so you cannot see it without extremely sensitive cameras. But it is there. You are quite literally glowing, just too faintly for anyone to notice. Studies have shown that biophoton emission varies by body region and fluctuates throughout the day, with the lowest levels occurring in the morning and the highest levels in the afternoon. The face tends to emit more biophotons than the rest of the body, possibly because the face has higher metabolic activity and greater exposure to sunlight during the day. The biological significance of biophoton emission is still debated, but some researchers believe it may play a role in cell-to-cell communication. Your cells may be using light to talk to each other, a form of biological communication that we are only just beginning to understand. As we approach the end of this journey, let us step back and consider the big picture. You are a body made of atoms that were forged in the hearts of ancient stars. The iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the oxygen in your lungs, all of it was created billions of years ago in stellar furnaces and scattered across the cosmos by supernova explosions. You are, in the most literal and scientific sense, made of stardust. The atoms in your body have been recycled countless times, passing through rocks, rivers, plants, animals, and other human beings over billions of years. You are a temporary arrangement of matter that the universe has assembled into a conscious, self-aware being, and one day those atoms will return to the earth and be reassembled into something else. You are not separate from the cosmos. You are the cosmos experiencing itself, and consider how improbable your existence is. The specific combination of genes that makes you who you are was one possibility among trillions. The odds that your particular sperm cell would fertilize that particular egg cell were roughly 1 in several hundred million. And for that conception to have been possible, every single one of your ancestors, going back thousands of generations, had to survive long enough to reproduce. Every famine, every plague, every war, every natural disaster that has occurred over the last 100,000 years of human history failed to kill a single one of your direct ancestors before they could pass on their genes. You are the end product of an unbroken chain of survival that stretches back to the very first life on Earth, more than 3.5 billion years ago. The probability of your existence is so vanishingly small that the mere fact that you are alive to watch this is, mathematically speaking, a miracle. Your body is a testament to the power of evolution, blind, undirected, operating without foresight or intention, and yet capable of producing structures of breathtaking complexity and elegance. Every feature of your body, from the curvature of your spine to the architecture of your neural networks, was shaped by millions of years of natural selection, each generation passing on the traits that helped it survive and reproduce. You are the latest draft of a design document that has been continuously revised for billions of years, and the result is the most sophisticated biological machine on the planet. Think about everything we have discussed over the course of this documentary. Your lungs with their tennis court surface area, your brain with its 86 billion neurons generating enough electricity to power a light bulb, your heart beating 2.5 billion times in a lifetime without ever stopping, your DNA stretching across the solar system if uncoiled, your immune system with its billions of specialized cells standing guard against an invisible world of threats, your gut with its 500 million neurons and its trillions of microbial partners. Your bones stronger than steel, your eyes detecting single photons of light, your nose distinguishing a trillion different scents, your body radiating a faint glow of light too dim for anyone to see. You are extraordinary, not in some vague motivational poster sense, but in a concrete, measurable, scientifically verifiable sense. The human body is the most remarkable object in the known universe, and you are walking around in one right now. Every breath you take, every heartbeat, every thought, every sensation is the product of biological engineering so sophisticated that we are still, after centuries of scientific inquiry, struggling to fully comprehend it. And perhaps the most amazing thing of all is this: despite everything we have learned, there is still so much we do not know. The human body continues to surprise us. New discoveries are being made every year, new cell types identified, new functions uncovered, new connections revealed. The more we study the human body, the more complex it becomes, and the more we realize how much remains to be discovered. We are in many ways still at the beginning of our understanding. So the next time you look in the mirror, take a moment to appreciate what you are seeing. You are not just looking at a face. You are looking at a universe in miniature, a cosmos of cells, a galaxy of genes, a constellation of systems all working in concert to produce the singular phenomenon of you. You are ancient stardust reassembled into a conscious being. You are the latest chapter in a 4 billion-year story of life on Earth. You are the most complex thing in the known universe, and you deserve to understand just how incredible you truly are. This has been the incredible human body, secrets hiding beneath your skin. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the most extraordinary machine ever created, the one you live in every day. Take care of it. It is the only one you will ever get.